Or voice, whatever comes first. Okay. I also adjusted my mic settings a little bit because they were super loud last time. So I have no idea how it sounds now because I am not good at voice stuff. My biggest weakness is not knowing what the fuck to do with my mic settings. We're just gonna chill on the starting screen for a bit. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I didn't know what to play today, and I kinda couldn't be bothered doing the capture card. So, you accepted a voice therapy? Congrats! Hell yeah! Good job! I hope it goes well. Fuck yeah. Radio fucking voice therapy arc incoming. Powerful. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Didn't want to set up my capture card shit. So we're just gonna play The Good Life, which I haven't played in months. And I low-key kind of forgot what the buttons are. So, I guess we'll find out if I remember how to play this game or not. Which I more than likely will not remember how to play. Cause I'm kind of silly. I'm kind of silly goofy. Oh, big yawn. Silly goofy mood. Hell yeah. Yeah, please let me know if my mic needs to be increased a little bit or if it's like in a good spot. Cause a bitch can't tell. Cause I have no control over my volume when I speak. I'm either way too quiet or way too loud because I have no concept of what my voice is like. I'll move over to the game in a minute. I'm just like just vibing on the start of the screen. Also, can you believe my 1-year anniversary is like in April? Like end of April? I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. It's gonna be my 1-year streaming anniversary and I have no fucking clue what to do. Yes! At the end of April this year, April 29th, I will have been streaming for 1 whole year.
I ultimate shall say booba stinka, that's all for my wisdom, thank for my TED talk.
Nice one, Emperor. More art time. Shut up. Silence. Yeah, I don't know what to do for my 1-year anniversary. I think... Are you proud of me? I'm very proud of you, Emperor. I'm super duper duper proud. Yeah. I do maybe have like something, but that's dependent on if the artist I'm commissioning will be working on it and have finished it by that time. I will not say specifically what it is. He's to cry under the rock. Okay. So yeah. There's a thing, possibly, that I could do. Just okay. So yeah, we'll see if that is a thing before the end of April. Hoping it will be. But you never know. So we'll see. If not, then I guess we'll just do like, I don't know. Oh my god, sorry. We'll just do like, I don't fucking know. We'll just like go over all my old clips and go down a trip down memory lane. Me who doesn't realize it's already March. I know. I do not have plenty of time. Now, which family or clan shall I eliminate? None of them, Emperor. You're gonna do the timeline where Itachi didn't do the thing. Yeah, so... Ugh, we'll see. And I still have to... Oh, I still have to fucking plan out my Dragon Age lore video. I still have to, like, read the books, read the comics. I'll probably get away with not replaying the game. Oh, hey, Titch! Heyo! How are you, Titch? How's your pasta? How is your pasta? Ugh. Heyo. Yeah, it's hard. Life is difficult. Okay. We will go over to the game scene. I'm hungry. She hungry. Don't take her food. She hungry. Ah. Oh yeah, I forgot I had that emotion on. Haha, hee. Not done. Me hunger. Oh. She doesn't have our pasta yet. Don't be mean. Don't steal what a bitch doesn't have. That seems loud. Undercooked pasta is not worth it. But the crunch radio. The crunch. Okay. Raw pasta. I love crunch and we'll crunch all day long. Yeah. A very healthy, nutritious meal. With all the crunch you could ever need.
Naomi,
What's up, bitch?
where do you think you're going, Missy?
I don't know. Fucking storyteller, where am I going?
Stop fannying about, Naomi.
Oh, thank you for the hug. Can I get crunchy onchy? There you go. Bruh. Line up the 3 gnomes on the Why is the camera so sensitive? The camera's so fucking sensitive, dude. Oh my lord, I have it nearly down, like all the way down. Pinky Joey, you're welcome. Is it too loud, too quiet, the game? Thank you for the pet, Titch. I have text to speech as well, if you want to... Oh my god, this is so fucking... Save. Yes. Oh my lord, do I have to basically turn it fucking off, dude? So fucking speedy. What the fuck do you mean? It's basically off the camera rotation speed. What the fuck? Oh my, okay, well, we're just gonna have to deal with it, because it's apparently wants to be maximum fucking speed. Oh fuck, I forgot she has goddamn stamina. Oh, okay. Right, fuck it. Right, gnomes. We have to line up gnomes. Right, I want to be a dog. Right. We running. So yes, if any of you have not played this game or have heard of this game, you can transform into a dog or a cat.
Princess and Jelly, sitting in a tree, KISSNIG.
KISSNIG. Princess and Jelly. Okay. Alright, where are the fucking gnomes? Do I have like an inventory or something? How do I... No. I have fucking bugs and shit in my inventory. I'm an absolute dong. It's okay, Shiny. It's okay, Shiny. Fucking hell. Okay. Where in the fuck? Am I a good boy? Sure. Shiny, you can't yeet stuff at me in your own fucking shape. Where in the fuck are the gnomes? They're on the path up here, so they're around here somewhere. I don't know what I typed. What's wrong with me? The jelly effect has gotten to you. Let me in. Okay, there's supposed to be fucking gnomes. I don't know where these gnomes are. Jelly, I'm gonna sleep now because I'm tired. If you want me to make that little annotation, if you please DM me. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it. Have a good sleep, radio. How do I fucking... Oh, I'm in violence. I'm gonna let your stream play while I work, don't worry. Yeah, you the usual. What? How do I... What are the fucking buttons, man? I've transformed into dog. How do I do things?
Jelly X Titch is the best ship. And Shinny is the cutest, most adorable mod ever, and Emmaparer is indeed not a good boy. He is best boy.
Wow. You're so right. Okay. Do I have space? Can I please inhale this scent? Jelly figuring out buns. Oh, I can sit? Bruh. I like how it says shiny. You always know I'm working. I'm the best boy. Well, too bad. Shiny has assigned you best boy. Wait, Z? Why is Z jump? Excuse me? This is a mess. Why the fuck is Z jump? Hello? No. Right, you can be Z or whatever the fuck. How do I change the buttons? There's mouse sensitivity here. Oh my god. Wait. Oh my god, I fixed it. I bite shins. You always bite shins. My god, okay. This is a mess. How do I zoom? Sir? Wait, what are the fucking buttons? Mate. How do I... Why is that escape?
Ras, Rudy, Vigoti, Squissy, Jealousy, Crossasi, Zenasi, Shinasi, Sika, Blyat.
What in the fuck? My eyes to the stream. Go for it. Do whatever your heart desires. Oh my god. Okay. Shiny's gonna have a fucking great time with this. I'm so glad. How do I sniff? I can summon sheep? What is happening? Line up the 3 gnomes on the path to the white residence. Do I have to collect the gnomes? The jealousy. I'm sorry, my princess. Don't be. It's fine. Wait, there's a gnome. Do I pick you up with my little teefies? Wait, aha. Ah, I need to be a person to pick you up. Understandable. Gimme. Okay. So I have to line the 3 gnomes on the path up to the white residence. Okay. So there's gnomes just around. Okay, cool. I'm always looking mad disrespectfully. I know. Juicy. Russie. For short. Juicy for short. You're short. Just saying. Short bitch. Why is her jump so weak and pathetic? Okay. Do I have to just go on a scavenger hunt for gnomes? Okay, we running. Right, I know what I'm doing now. There's gnomes in places.
According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyways. Because bees don't care what humans think is impossible.
Okay, I was wondering when someone would get the fucking bee movie script. Thanks for the runabout. Bruh, do you not know about the bee movie? Where the fuck are the gnomes? That's a bunny, that's not a gnome. I'm scared in case it counts as a gnome. What if it does? Bee movie. We figured out how they fly. Tell us how they fly then, Titch. Ugh, where the fuck are these people? Gnomes! The bee movie, I erased that from my memory. I thought, blame Shiny, not me! Let me scavenge in your trash. A baggie of white powder. Oh, what's up, dude? Oh.
Seriously?
There's a time limit?
You need to stop this tragedy before it reaches its sorry end.
Their wings
Only
rotate
you
during
can
flight.
Stop William Naomi.
Oh, what's up, Rita?
According to all known laws of aviation Ratassi, there is no way that a rat should be able to roll its fat little body or too small to get its fat little body off the slope. The rat, of course, rolls anyways. Because the rat is a girl boss queen who don't give a fuck what humans think is impossible.
Okay. Hey, look, a rat.
What's up? Hey!
How do I kick it again?
Hey!
Oh, I scared it. There we go. Look, I'm kicking a rat. Wow, I'm kicking a rat. It's pretty
Shoot, be gone.
Why are you? Get away from me. I'm just a cat, dude. The fuck? Bored. I'm so happy right now. I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad I've given you power. Oh, there's a gnome. I didn't mean to kick it. Ugh, I'm glad you're satisfied. I must do... Is that a hedgehog? It's a hedgehog. Wow, I can't kick it. I'm carrying a gnome. Titch want to get cooked. Yeah, and Titch would do anything for me to even look in her direction sometimes. You know what I mean? Okay, riddle me this. Okay, I'm riddling. Who in this chat doesn't want to get kicked by Jelly? Oh my god. You guys are freaks, huh? Okay, I have 2 of the 3 gnomes. Most of our time was spent with me not knowing buttons, so. Where the fuck is the 3rd gnome? I'm glad I've brung Shiny extra joy with the text-to-speech. I would do anything to bring you guys joy, you know? Does the bunny count as a gnome? Because it's a garden ornament. But does that constitute it being a gnome? Also, I'm just like stealing cunts' gnomes. There's one. Yeah, turn into animals. She's a journalist from America who's in a little town in England, and for some reason they have magic that can turn you into a cat or a dog. And also you're in severe debt, so you have to solve the mystery of the town to get money so you can get out of the severe debt. So that's why I'm lining up gnomes on a road. I'm just stealing people's gnomes. I clearly missed a big context. The context is
caught in a bad romance. Caught in a bad romance. Rah rah ah ah ah. Roma Roma ma. Gaga. Ooh la la. Want your bad romance. Rah rah ah ah ah. Roma Roma ma gaga. Ooh la la. Want your bad romance.
Yeah, the context, Emperor, is that I played this game on stream before. Months ago, before you like joined the community. So yeah, you did. Yes. So this is like a continuation of it.
Yeah.
But that was months ago and I haven't played it since. So bring it on, William Ego Dickens. Roma Magaga TTS is the name. Truth. In the face of the fearful man, spirits of the earth manifest. And so the man questions the earth. What purpose is there in vengeance? What value is there in wrath? Are my actions just, or am I making evil? Endless questions cycle round and round, as eternal as the Ouroboros. TTS sounds like it's dying. It kinda is. This wrath, this lamentation. Is it not in fact the anger that every man carries and therefore his lamentation? Bruh. Or is it merely an electric signal sent from the overdeveloped spinal cord of yet another earthly creature that's lost its way? What is he going on about? Oh yeah, I forgot. Really good, but I have to take it to my desk now and set up. Ha 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 ha. You have to fucking set up. Ha ha. I gotta say something I'm proud of. What are you proud of? Yeah, this was the game where I was doing the... What is he going on about? Like that voice. The American...
I want your ugly. I want your disease. I want your everything as long as it's free. I want your love. Love, love, love. I want your love. Hey. I want your drama. The touch of your hand. Hey. I want your leather-studded kiss in the sand. I want your love. Love, love, love. I want your love. Opening parenthesis. Love, love, love. I want your love. You know that I want you. And you know that I need you. I want it bad. Your bad romance. I want your love, and I want your revenge. You and me could write a bad Rudy Bagoo Goo.
Jeez.
Yeah, it still worked. Yeah, I think if you put too much text, it just won't show up, but it still plays. Jump scare capabilities. Well, that was something. Didn't notice that a goddamn thing, but still. Norlock homeless? Whomst? So you're proud of my list. Oh, yes, I'm very proud of your list. On the contrary, I believe you've got the basic gist of it, my dear Hayward. Oh, sup, bro? Why, it's elementary. There is a personal hell that plagues the mind of every novelist.
Seriously?
Ow. Who the hell are you? Oh, he has heterochromia. He's fucking pale as a hat. I see, so introductions are in order.
How are you?
My name is Norlock Homeless, the world's second best private detective. What in the fuck? I have too much power. You do, and that's okay, Shiny. That's okay. I have gifted you this power and capabilities. Oh yeah, if you do exclamation point merch, it'll bring up the red bubble link. Just to like plug it. The game is afoot, my dear Hayward. Let us open the door of truth together. What?
Nope.
Now I'm even more confused. But I do understand one basic thing. This town is a goddamn hellhole. Thank you for the hydrate. I wish you the very best in the stream, Jelly Kiss. I kiss you. Have fun with your stream. Hopefully you're still going when I finish stream and I can raid you. I'm so sorry, my queen. Please don't let me out. Oh, yeah, I need to put Shiny in your cage. Cage. There you go. I didn't cage you last stream because I was too distracted. So now you go back in the cage.
Hey.
Hey, you. Yes, my dear Hayward. I just want to give you a little warning. You know, for your own sake. You look extremely suspicious. If you were in New York, people would think you're a thief surveying a rich guy's house. Yes, true genius is often misunderstood, my dear Hayward. But worry not, Mr. White would never alert the authorities. Well, I sure hope not. It appears, my dear Hayward, that you don't quite understand the true nature of this case. What are you saying? You know who did it? Oh yeah, bitch got murdered. And we're trying to solve why she was murdered. Watson, I'm whipping the nay-nay Watson. Hi, Josh. Watson is the bird on his head. Also, where's my give me a present. You give me a present. Huh? Huh? Have you considered that? You give me a present. Josh, I have text-to-speech now. It's 500 channel points. Go crazy, go stupid. What do you want? Money. You know, I want money. You want a present? I want money. Give me money. Hand it over. Hand it over. In one way I do, and in one way I don't. But yes, perhaps this is the perfect chance for us to see just how to see just much you've managed to figure out on your own. What the fuck? I can draw you a present, Jelly. Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. Now, pray tell, young Hayward, who killed Elizabeth? I don't fucking know, dude. Elizabeth, why not?
Yeah.
Elizabeth is troubled by a dysphoria that existed between her heart and her body. Day after day, the expectations of her hyper-religious mother and rural prejudices continued to torture her. I bet she even had reoccurring nightmares about being chased by a monster wielding a box cutter. I'll make you a little chibi like the one I made for Cece. Hell yeah! Thank you, Josh. I'm eating, but you can have my heart, my princess. Hand it over. Thank you. I see, quite an intriguing theory. I'm glad you agree.
Unbelievable.
You've completely missed the mark, and it appears that you have absolutely no imagination. What's more, what you told me just now isn't even a theory, it's an unabashed fantasy. And since I'm a detective, I immediately recognize the story that you just told me was stolen from someone else's work. As you spoke, your eyes gradually moved up towards the upper right. This happens when people recall visual memories, meaning you were remembering something you'd already seen before. You got me. But don't beat yourself up about it. Even I happen to quote the words of Master Holmes from time to time. Okay, so I failed. I've assessed your intellectual level, my dear Hayward. You could never be a detective, but you may be fit to serve as an assistant to one.
Seriously?
The epitome of mediocre intelligence paired with a body of ample stoutness, capable of shielding one from sudden harm. Yes, that is indeed the greatest assistant any detective could ever ask for.
The truth is near.
Now, my dear Hayward, let us continue with the investigation. First, we'd best open the door to the White residence. Open the door? I don't know how to pick locks. No life is good. Yeah. How are you, No Name? Wow. Must I spell everything out for you? Simply scale the wall like a cat and unlock the door from the inside. Simple, yes. Come now. We've no time to waste. That fucking bird is having a stroke. I'm good, just saving up so I can throw shit at you. Go for it. Go for it. You also have text-to-speech, so you can yell at me. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in. I'm at 11 points right now. Oh, effing chat. Let me in. I'm just a little cat. Let me in. Let me in. Where the fuck? Hello? There was like a button. So you have time to prepare. Thank you. Thank you for your forewarning. I do appreciate it. Most people like Shiny don't have the dignity to forewarn me of their crimes. Oh. I mean, I forewarn you. For some reason, I don't get points if I don't type in chat ever. Oh no. It really is a crime. Let me out. Let me out. Is there a tutorial thing or something? F is cold. Reset. Does that work for any emotes? Yeah, it works for the follower emotes. Only the privileged like me. Shiny, shut the fuck up. The follower emotes do it too. It's my follower emotes that do it. Take taco. I would have loved to take taco if it worked. Okay. Right, okay, there we go. I'm figuring out buttons now. I'm a go for now, busy at the moment. Okay, have fun, Emperor. Don't die. This fucking cat be scaling the walls. I am followed. Do you have the follower emotes? My princess, am I being too much? No, of course you're not. Shut the fuck up. I don't have any emotes from you? Huh. That's weird. There should be follower emotes available. Did none of them care that I've just like walked into their house? I want the wiggle. I like the wiggle, the popular wiggle. I want the wiggle. Bye, Emperor. Well done, my dear Hayward. I do say, you're turning out to be a fine detective's assistant. I hate the fucking bird. Hey, wait up!
Elementary.
Come now, my dear Hayward. The time has come for us to open the door to truth. God damn it! Why doesn't anyone in this Tsuka town ever listen to me? Thanks, Shiny. He has a mouth, for sure.
How are you?
Greetings, Mr. White. So yeah, the only one with a distinctive character voice is Naomi because she's American. Everyone else is gonna sound the same. They don't have a choice. Greetings to you both. I must say I was expecting you sooner. Well, I hope our tea hasn't gone completely cold now, has it? Now, Mr. White, this is purely a formality. However, it must be asked. You did not kill Elizabeth. Would you say that theory of mine is correct? Thanks, Shiny. Also, Emperor, I thought you were working. Huh? Huh? Thought you were working. Yes, as you can see. Killing a youngster with these old hands would be quite the feat for me. I feel that I'd be at quite a disadvantage, what with already having one foot in the grave. My dad bought me Patelio? I don't know how to say that. What is it? Is it nice? What is it? No kidding. Oh, shit. No kidding. How'd this guy even manage to get out of bed? There's no way he'd be able to threaten Elizabeth with that... Bleh. There's no way he'd be able to threaten Elizabeth in that turbo wheelchair of hers. Potelio. Potelio. Thanks. But there is no ruler in our world that states all murder must be committed alone. Oh my, I hope you're not insinuating that I am in some way complicit. In days of yore did the one true king reign, and vanquished he barbarians rejecting sovereignty. Look up a picture because describing it is out of capability. Okay, I will look it up on my phone. A spirit's ire raged deep through the land, and readied the mystic blade Cortana, proud in the one true king's right hand. The spirit's power ephemeral, covetous thieves soon stole the blade's name, and so all fell to ruin, and the one true king into eternal slumber, protected by the giant's gentle gaze. Did I spell that right? It's only bringing up paleo stuff, F in chat. Want to search special new experience consider murder? You're not the only jelly on Twitch. What? What? Yes, I am not the only jelly on Twitch. There's a lot of other jellies on Twitch. It is not only me. I have many friends and under the name of Jelly. There's something quite peculiar about this poem. Now, common legend has it that Cortana once belonged to Sir Tristram, one of King Arthur's knights of the Round Table. She's the only jelly from my heart, my soul. Thank you, Shiny. Thank you so much. I am Shrimp. You are. Pat. But according to the poem, the sword's name, I'm waiting for someone to come in, is the Jelly Prince. Well, he would not be my prince, for I am a lesbian. But yes, there's bound to be a fucking Prince Jelly somewhere in the void. But according to the poem, the sword's name was stolen, and it now sleeps together with the one true king. Person could be trans, you never know. That there's still a man. there's still a man. I'm just like a no, you're a goblin, Shiny. A sea slug made of loom. True. I'm talking about a trans. Then why would she be prince? Because prince is masculine. Gucci? That's not how Gucci's spelled, honey. It's... I'll type it for you. My fucking thing will let me. That's how it's spelled. A girl wants to be a man, so... Oh, you mean trans man? Yeah, so it's still a man. A trans woman is born male, transitioning to female. Trans man. So a man. A trans man is a man. Yeah, that's called being a trans man. Yes, a very perceptive observation. You're making my brain hurt. Okay. So, if they're a prince, that will mean I'm not gonna date them if they're trans, because that means they're a trans man, which means they're a man. Like, if they're born a woman and transitioning into a man, they're becoming a man. So I don't want to date them because they're not a girl. Because they're a dude, which is why they're prince. Yeah, thank you, Shiny. That's what the terms mean. Still confused. It's only 9 AM, bear with me. No, yeah, we're bearing with you. We're trying to explain it to you, don't worry. But it's like... Like, how can I explain this? I don't know how to fucking word it. But basically the way Shiny said it is... the way it is... Explain in caveman terms. How do I explain this in caveman terms without it sounding really bad? Yeah, so okay. So when you say trans girl, you're thinking a girl who wants to be a man, right? That's not how it is. No, wait, fuck. Wait, let me read back on your messages. Sorry, give me a minute. A girl who wants to be a man. Yeah, that's not a trans girl. So... Okay, so trans girl... What you think is a trans girl is someone who is... a girl who wants to be a man, but the correct term for that is... trans man, because that's the way... You've basically just got them the wrong way around. Basically. Trans girl is woman, person born woman who won't be man. Trans, wait, is that trans? Yeah, trans guy, woman who want to be man and is becoming man. So wise. I've tried infinite jelly brain power. Bruh, my brain is the size of a pea. Trans girl is born man, won't become woman. You've basically just got the terms mixed up. I don't know if that helps. I'm the worst at explaining things. What I am about to explain to you now could never be called a proper theory. Princess is a lesbian. I am. So she prefer a woman, yes. Yes, it is, but a walking shadow, a tale told by an idiot. Oh, well, I certainly can't wait to hear the rest of it. Thank you, Shady. Ugh. Just because someone was born woman does not mean I want to be with them. Mag, just like X. It's easier on the brain for me. Okay, well, we'll move on. Just Google it. Yeah, because, like, it's not complicated. And I'm not saying this in a way to, like, shame you or make you feel bad. I'll end up figuring out later from thinking about it. Yeah, like, we're not trying to shame you or make you feel bad or anything, like, but it is very simple. Because, you know, my brain is on 400 ping. It be like that sometimes. That's okay. Just give yourself a chance to wake up. If the katana referred to in this poem is truly the same blade that was once called Excalibur. If Excalibur was the weapon used to murder Elizabeth,
Fascinating.
then perhaps this incident is connected to the bloodline of the one true king. Excalibur the Beyblade? Yeah, the Beyblade. Are you saying that one of King Arthur's descendants might be living out here in the boonies?
Ugh.
Come now, Lady Hayward. There's no need to get so out of sorts. Stop now. So, yeah, Shiny, it's okay. Hopefully it'll sort itself out later. Jesus. After all, the blood of Alexander the Great could be running through your veins for all you know. Fun fact, I'm watching the Beyblade Burst rise since I finished Burst Evolution and Burst Turbo. Nice! I don't know anything about Beyblade, but that sounds cool. So I'm very happy for you. Ow. Shiny. Yawn. We don't have a yawn count yet, I'm afraid. Oh wait, Shiny, do exclamation point quote. It will bring up a random quote that I've added. It's all on Netflix and a lot of fun to watch in my opinion. Hell yeah. Well, big yawn. Okay. After all, the blood of Alexander the Great could be running through your veins for all you know.
Oh dear.
Bloodlines mean very little in the end. But you would have to start with Beyblade Burst Evolution on episode 27. Damn. Why? Why? Shiny. Thanks for continuously plugging the merch, Shiny. They don't have Beyblade Burst. Or Babe, we'd love to see your money. Shiny. They don't have Beyblade Burst or Beyblade Burst Evolution episode 1 to 26 on Netflix. Ah, okay. That sucks. Whoa. I'm surprised to hear you say such a thing, Mr. White. A woman in a wheelchair was murdered and left with an old sword impaling her chest.
Oh.
Because they big dumb and can't count. I mean, to be fair, counting is very hard. Counting is really hard. I should know. Bitch struggles with numbers. This is abnormal. Highly, highly abnormal.
Brings a tear to the eye.
Oh yes, a truly tragic, horrific affair. And as you pointed out, only a fool would get hung up on matters of bloodlines. Not if it only goes up to 30. Well, how many times is the bitch gonna get fucking tongue twisted on Beyblade Burst Evolution while to like 40 or 50? Ouch. I got a BRB. Okay, Shiny, have fun. Only a fool would get hung up on matters of bloodlines. But our culprit here was capable of doing something tragic, horrific, and highly abnormal. No name behave, okay, don't confuse the princess or punch. It's okay, Shiny, don't worry. Perhaps in this culprit's case, bloodline alone could be connected to the very motive itself. Bonk me either way with a pot. Ooh. Oh, yes, I know this one. Enjoy this stuff. Thanks, Shiny. Ow. Oh, yes, I know this one. As a rule, the more bizarre a thing is, the more mysterious it proves to be, yes? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so yawny today. Sleep then. I was sleeping a lot actually. I'm always perpetually tired. It's like, it's so frustrating, honestly. Like no matter how much I sleep. Shiny! Shiny, I thought you were BRB, huh? Huh? I thought you were BRB, you little bitch. Is it some type of condition? I don't know. I've like went to the doctors to be like, why the fuck am I always just tired? And they've done blood tests and everything like that, and they just kind of haven't given me answers. So yeah, I don't know. It sucks. Some days are better. Are you sleep deprived? Not really, because I sleep a lot. Like I can sleep like 12 hours. But even if I sleep like the average amount of like 6 to 8, I'm still always tired. They've done blood work and everything, and just yeah, some days are better than others. Today, I don't know. I think it's just because I was traveling and my birthday was on Monday, and it's just kind of been a very busy week, like the past couple of weeks. So I think it's all just kind of catching up to me, and I'm especially exhausted. But it's all good. I will just be very yawny, and I do apologize for that. I am still awake and present. So yeah. Did you just say your birthday was on Monday? Yeah, my birthday was on Monday. Birthday was on the 28th. Apologies, but it's nearly time for Dr. Bakuri to come and give me my checkup.
Until next time.
I must thank you. I haven't had a conversation this stimulating in quite a while.
We'll meet again.
Pleasure was all ours, sir. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us. Water. Oh, thank you, name. Thank you very much. My birthday was very chill. I was gonna stream on my birthday, but I ended up streaming on the Tuesday. Because my birthday was like really busy. There was a lot going on, so I didn't have time to stream. But yeah, it was very fun. Thank you. Hey, I have one last question for you. What's with the painting? It doesn't really seem to fit the rest of your decor. I don't celebrate my birthday. Oh, why not? Oh, that is a thank you gift I received a long time ago from someone I once did a favor for. It was inspired by a legend about a giant. It's certainly one of my favorite pieces. Oh, yeah. If it was a present, then I guess you can't exactly toss it in a closet or something. Enough tarrying, my dear Hayward. It's time we were off to the next part of our investigation. Because I hate my family and my great-grandfather died on the day I was born. Ooh, ouch, I'm sorry.
See ya.
That sucks. I'm sorry. Alright, see you later, boss.
Until next time, then.
You're welcome here anytime. Old men like me have a lot of spare time on our hands. Who died? No Name said they don't like celebrating they don't celebrate their birthday because family sucks and granddad dies. Yeah, it sucks. Mr. White is not the killer, but he's hiding something. A sword taken from his house was used as the murder weapon, and now it's gone missing. Yet he didn't try to defend himself at all. And I don't want my family to celebrate me getting older. I'd rather have them pay their respect to my great-grandfather since he was in the army. Okay. It's painfully clear what he's trying to protect. A horrifically boring piece of rubbish currently decorates his drawing room. Yeah, like, you do matter too. Like, I understand the desire to, like, pay respects to him. Oh. Oh, I said sorry, but like... Yeah, like Shiny said. A birthday is a celebration of you being here. You know, like the day you were born, it's just, you know. It's Shiny! Shiny, I'm gonna take exclamation point merch away from you. Shiny, I'm gonna take it away from you. Half the time I don't want to be here. Yeah, I know how that feels, but like... Shiny. Oh shit. Yeah, like the stream's here to just like chill and have a good time. Listen, if you ever wanna, like, when it's your birthday, if I'm streaming, then you wanna just like hang out here in the stream and I can wish you a happy birthday and we can all just vibe. You know, I'm down with that. It's up to you. But yeah, like, respect and honor your great granddad, but also, you know, respect and honor yourself as well. Like, you deserve to celebrate yourself for once, you know what I mean? The little things. The little things. Behind the giant in that picture is this very town. The greenery matches up perfectly. And judging from the position of the setting sun, it must be depicting the Kingswood to the west of the lake in the south. That painting was drawn by Martha Berryman. It even has her signature on it. You could celebrate yourself. Shiny. Shiny. I'm gonna take that away from you. Why do you keep plugging the merch?
Truth is near.
Now, my dear Hayward, onward to our next destination. Let us reconvene in front of the Berryman residence. Oh, hello, child. Oh god, there's two of them. Oh, fuck. There's two of them. No road doth lead to the King's Break. An unseen path there is to take. Yet since the path can't be perceived, you will arrive right as you leave. Spirals mark the true king's tomb. Want to see the weird emote I have? Hell yeah. Riddles alone to protect the treasure, so try to tie what craves a tether. Creepy fucking children. That is a weird emote. That is a weird emote. Thank you, I guess, for showing that to me. How did that get past the Twitch TOS? How did that get past the Twitch TOS, dude? What's their deal? asked to show you and you said sure, so it's on.
Lobster!
I recognize that it's on me. I recognize that it's my own fault.
Seriously?
But how did that get past into you? Like the of course you like it, shiny fucking hell. Ugh, not him again.
Lobster!
Nope.
Yep, lobster. I get it.
Hey, what's your game?
What kind of reaction is that? This is why I hate New Yorkers. You're all frickin' chowderheads. You know, I've never had anyone insult my intelligence from that angle before. I hope you get sent to Boston someday, sister. Where I'm from, if you can't do a proper lobster pose, no one will ever want to talk to you.
Jeez.
Well, that doesn't sound very politically correct to me. It was just a joke, you freaking moron. My stepdad's a New Yorker and I hate him 99% of the time. You know what else got past? Hey, Juicebox! Hi! How are you, Juicebox? We vibing. So that's all you came here to do? Tell bad jokes? See, I always knew you were small time. The twins' song back there really threw you for a loop, didn't it? Only time I like him gonna be lurking to return to sleep. Valid, Juicebox. When he gets me food. Food is always good. I hope the rest of your sleep is good, Juicebox. Also, thank you, Shiny. Sorry for missing so much as a don't worry about it, Juicebox. It's okay. Life is busy. Don't even worry about it. I don't expect anyone to just constantly be at my gosh darn stream. There we go. Listen up, yuppie. Both the Kingswood and the Royal Tomb are private property. They're basically serving a huge scoop to us on a silver platter.
Seriously?
Ow. Too bad the lyrics of that little rap of theirs didn't make a damn lick of sense. Yeet. I did get yeeted. Relax, don't have a heart attack. I'm gonna solve this mystery before you can even say wicked smart. Wait, what? You're trying to steal my scoop? Scoop, lobster. Your scoop? What are you, nuts? You didn't even know it was a scoop until I spelled it out for you. Anyway, I've got bigger fish to fry. Best of luck, yuppie. What if I copy and paste the emotes? I think it'll work. There you go. We do have access to the follower emotes. Kind of works. It's still through it. Okay. Cute. I have so many side quests. Cute and fluffy, hot word. Shiny. Are you gonna do TTF? Shiny! Okay, I need to find something cute and fluffy and take a picture of it. Does hedgehog count as cute and fluffy? Look at him! Can you look at me? Nocturnal animal life. Where even is my house? Up here, right? Yeah, that's my house. F to warp home? No. Oh! Ow. Fuck.
What's up?
How are you, dear?
Oh, I like her backpack.
Oh, jeez.
We did it!
Wowee. Okay, is that my house? Oh, that is not the way to my house. I went the wrong way entirely. They're cats. Yes, Shiny. What's up? Is Emperor in Titch's chat? Yeah, I know.
What's up?
Hello, Cece! Cece, I have text to speech. Okay, my captions aren't working. I'm going to need to update that because that's annoying. Yeah, how are you, Cece? So, see, don't... Shiny, I'm gonna turn off the fucking merch thing. Yeah, Cece, I have merch now. Shiny won't let it go. Oh, Jesus Christ, Shiny. I mean, thank you for showing so much love and support for me. I do appreciate it. And I need to upload this. Look at my princess and her ad revenue. It's not ad revenue.
Thanks, as always.
I like the money to buy, but I will fucking pitch everything. I know you will. I do appreciate it. Picture the dead girl's body getting mad likes though. It's still going. Oh. Oh my god, this computer still is fucking shit, dude. I'd like picture of a bunch of sheep to Flamingo. Oh, okay. Well, if you want pictures of sheepies. Okay, she wants like pictures of 10 sheep. I sleep 6 hours. This bitch be snoring. Okay. Alright, we probably kind of stinky, so we'll take a shower. Do I have clothes that I can dig into? I have a hoodie now. Yeah, we going backwards and forwards. But much love.
Hey!
Thank you, CC. You're a beaut. No, you. Love you too. Fuck you. What's the deal with the blind baron? It's 5 a.m. and I got legs for days. Yeah, to my face. I'll fucking say it to your face right now. Ow. Where's the blind veteran? Hello. What the fuck was that? Anyone else think Kratos has a sexy voice? Of course
This
he
man's
does.
name is Henry Poe. He's 102 years old.
102? What the
Henry
fuck?
can speak to people and animals using his violin.
Ah.
Consequently, the people of Rainy Woods call Henry a friend to all creation. Naomi, listen to the violin. Its melody will surely soothe your soul.
Wow. Here's the veteran.
Hey,
Ah.
Hayward, what's the message? Private. Come now in your own time. Private? Whatever. I'll get to the point. What do you know about glowing moss and the British Army?
Eh?
There's some old abandoned mine deep within the northern mountains, right? Miss Jan told me about it, and my research checks out too. What kind of research was the British Army doing up there? Now, Hayward, why on God's good green earth would you go looking into all that palaver? Basically money, I guess? The problem's that it seems to be connected to Elizabeth's death somehow. So there's a whole slew of reasons as to why I need to solve this mystery now. What's wrong? Cat got your tongue? You know the answer, don't you? What's up with all the glowing moss?
Ah.
Much of that information is classified, I'll have you find. And to be honest, you've caught me in a bit of a bind. Meaning?
That's life.
It shames me to say it, but if you must know, I've had a bit of a spat with my tutor and we're not on good terms.
Eh?
So I don't really have the time to faff about helping others with helping others with their problems. What? You see, I use music to communicate with my rather talented tutor, Mr. Poe. But lately he's not been answering me. Instead, he just sends back the same word, be gone.
Damn.
I'm at my wit's end.
Your next mission.
So I'm asking for your help, Hayward. It's a mission of utmost importance. Somehow I knew this was going to happen. Go visit my tutor and report back with an update on what's got him out of sorts. Thanks. Do that and I'll be happy to give you a hint that could lead you to the answer for your question. Is that the only way Is this the only way to get things done in this town? Fine. I'll go find your tutor and ask him what's up. Then you better give me a hint that'll lead me to that glowing moss. Deal?
oh, jeez.
Conveniently. Oh, Route B. Blue Peacock. I am just going on every route. Right, where's the violin man? He's over here. Oh, he's chilling by a tree.
Hey,
One of your students sent me here. Hey, Grandpa? Yeah, you with the mustache and the long hair. This is going nowhere. How the hell did he expect me to talk to this guy in the first place? I might as well be trying to chat up a dolphin.
Oh, jeez.
I'd better retreat for now and go get some further instructions from my commanding officer. Who this? John Bowie man. Oh, he's the hey. Camera boy. Camera boy. Yeah, there may have been a murder, but it hasn't really interfered with my work. I'd love to take that wheelchair apart if I ever get the chance, though. What the fuck, dude? She needs that.
Yeah.
Job well done, Hayward, and you even made it back in one piece. Now, tell me what my tutor said. Well, about that. All he did was play his stupid violin. I couldn't even have a conversation with him, let alone ask him a question. Nice one, Hayward. Sounds to me like you infiltrated the very core of the problem. My tutor communicates through his violin, you see. So the notes he plays make up the messages he's sending me. What the hell does he think he is? A dolphin? Now, Hayward, as requested, I expect a full report on each and every note my tutor performed for you. If you can give me the melody, then I can decode its meaning.
Seriously?
What? Wait, I can't do that. If what you said is really true, you should just go there and listen to it yourself. Out of the question. My tutor won't play his violin when I'm around. He just twiddles his fingers over the string like he's playing air guitar.
Your next mission.
The mission's success is entirely up to you, Hayward. Now tell me, what exactly did my tutor say to you? Fuck me, dude. I think it was that one, right? Or something like that. This is like karaoke from hell. Oh, well, that's an interesting one. I'm running low on hit points. Go to Mushroom and Evans. Hit points? Sounds like my tutor is a bit of an undercover gamer. Who'd have thought? He's probably looking for one of those mushroom dishes.
Seriously?
He must be one hell of a glutton. You'd be hungry and all if you were chin strapped after a full day's exercise. Not to mention HB is the most reliable
Your
stat.
next mission.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, I fucked it up. We gotta run back over to that man and find, and I have to memorize the goddamn notes. And by memorize, I mean take a picture of it. Because I'm lazy.
Hey! Help me out here? Yeah.
Be running. I like that I wear the hoodie. Hey. I may have got the right notes this time.
Your next mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the clinic and see George Thackeray.
No way.
No time to explain, the rat is a macaroni. Titch got turned into a noodle? Wow. Tell her congratulations. Called herself Macaroni Titch. Funniest shit I've ever seen. Well, I hope she's delicious and nutritious then. It all makes sense now. My tutor could tell that something was wrong with my ears.
Seriously?
Are you serious? That's like the worst thing that could possibly happen to a musician. You're not wrong, Private. My echolocation has been a bit off as of late. It's gotten to the point that just going out on my own has become an ordeal. So your tutor was just worried about you? Sounds like a good tutor. Alright then, off to the clinic you go. Now I can finally get back to investigating that glowing moss. Just be sure to cough up that clue before you leave.
No.
Not just yet, Hayward.
Damn you!
Why the hell not? I saw that dumb... I'm multi-streaming. I know. I know you are. Is Titch having a good time? Is Titch suffering yet? I saw that dumb problem between you and your tutor, didn't I? As I just told you, my echolocation isn't working properly. In fact, on my way here, I got run over by a car, slipped not once, but twice on 2 big stones. Then Fine, I'll guide you to the clinic. Then you can get all better, give me your clue, and we can finally go our separate ways. Now, do we have a deal or what?
Perfect.
I appreciate your concern, Private, but my tutor's words were go to the clinic, not have someone take you to the clinic. And I'm not about... Thank you. Ow, but thank you. And I'm not about to go disobeying orders handed down by a superior officer. Who cares?
Your next mission.
So, Hayward, I've got another mission for you. I need you to run some reconnaissance and mark me a safe path to the clinic. Mark it? But you're...
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to say, Private, but you needn't worry. Your commanding officer here has a much keener sense of smell than most. Oh my god. What does that have to do with anything? I've already received intel on how you've been trotting around town as a dog. I had a feeling this was coming, but I didn't expect him to be so stupidly blunt about it. And as we all know, dogs like to mark their territory with their urine. Urine has a very distinct smell, and I've already memorized your scent. What the fuck does he mean he's recognized the scent of my piss? This dude is fucked up.
Seriously?
You want me to piss on the sidewalk? Look, do you want intel on the glowing moss that the British Army has kept quiet about or not? No, not anymore. Are you nuts? There's no way I could ever do something like that. In that case, are you requesting to be discharged from the regiment, Private? Fine, fine, you crazy asshole. I'll do it. I'm pissing on the sidewalk for money. How did it come to this? Listen, if pissing on the sidewalk gets you money, then, you know. Thanks, Shiny. I have to piss on the sidewalk. Ew.
Seriously?
What the hell? An accident? Well, I can't let that poor old vet go this way now. I guess I'll have to find another route. Damn, conveniently placed cars. How do I piss? Oh. Oh, this is fucking gross, dude. Okay. Zoom in doggo. I'm marking my territory. Jesus Christ. Wait, where's the... Ah. Why is there a quick time? I know, right? I don't know why the fuck they put a quick time event on me pissing. Game is so weird. There you go. I've marked. Ugh, I can't believe I just ran around pissing all over things. This is definitely a new low. No one can ever know about this. No one. I'm taking this one to my grave.
Understandable though that is, Naomi. Unfortunately, it's already too late.
Perfect.
Bravissimo. Excellent work, Hayward.
Damn you!
Shut up. Don't compliment me. It was only thanks to your expert marking that I was able to make it this far.
Help me out here?
Don't be so loud, damn it! Your urination was fast and accurate. Your aim true. It's moved me for tears. Just be quiet.
Yeah.
And as thanks, I'll be sure to pen a formal report myself on your valiant efforts and make sure. Whoa, that was a lot of burps. Jesus. And make sure that the top brass sees it. I'd say you have what it takes to become a Lance Corporal. Hey, this bitch pissed real good. Give her Lance Corporal. Thanks. All done. I presume you're Miss Hayward. They're his friend who helped him get all the way here?
Yeah.
Thanks, Shiny. Shiny. Yeah, he and I are... Oh, fuck. Yeah, he and I are complete strangers, though. Mind if I ask you a question? That army freak, you're sure he shouldn't be going to, you know, a different kind of clinic? You burped 3 times. Wow, good for me. Thanks for, once again, plugging the goddamn merch. Have you ever heard of doctor-patient confidentiality? Yeah... Of course. I can see this being an exception. It'd be better for everyone if you knew this information. Oh shit, really? Wait, you mean he's suffering from what's called a cerumen impaction? What? Is that something really bad? In short, his body produces so much earwax that it's capable of blocking up his entire ear canal. Ew. What you need to know is that this is a particular condition. This particular condition is unique to human beings. None of my other patients should ever experience such a thing. This is very important, so be sure to remember it.
Fakuri's right, you know. Only humans have to deal with earwax buildup.
So, what are you saying? That earwax... You had a hearing problem. That problem is now fixed. You can go now.
Seriously?
I thought he was really sick. You're telling me he just needed to clean out some of his earwax? I was really worried, you know, for a few seconds. Looks like you're all better now. Right as rain, Private. As usual, the good doctor is right on the mark with his prognosis.
Oh, jeez.
Just clean out your ears every now and then, like a normal person. Will do. It's certainly a lesson learned. Alright, now it's time to pay the pauper. Give me that damn hint already. I need to go and check out that glowing moss sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Of course, take this, Private. You've earned it. USB stick? No, wait. This looks a little different. It's completely different. An object from a time long before we had USB sticks, that's for sure.
Seriously?
What? But then it's gonna be like super old. You could go so far as to call it an out-of-place artifact. The machine you're meant to poke this into lies deep in that mine over in the northern mountains. The army spent a great deal of time there performing secret experiments with that machine. I see. So Elizabeth saw something she wasn't meant to? Is that it?
Hmm?
I can neither confirm nor deny that, Private. Well then, I guess it's time for me to pay that mine a visit. It'll be a dangerous journey. I traveled across the entire Atlantic just to come over here, didn't I? I friggin' love danger. One for traveling down the Oregon Trail with a broken wagon wheel, eh? I pray you don't succumb to dysentery. No prayer alone won't be enough. Take this, Private. A bandana. Oh. Ugh, what a stench. This bandana is my anti-bullet amulet. It's also drenched in my scent.
Nope.
I can tell. The mine is dark and easy to get lost in. Despite my duff eyes, I was still able to escape thanks to my sharp ears. You won't see your average squaddy manage that alone. He didn't. You never forget what you learn. Did he? Oh, Jesus. You never forget what you learn in the army, and so I made sure my recon was watertight in case I needed to go back. Meaning...
Perfect.
I was in a rush, but my keen senses told me to make sure I marked my path as I made a dash for the exit.
Seriously?
He did! With that bandana and my scent, you'll be able to find your way through the flood. He pissed on the bandana! He pissed on the bandana!
Have a good one.
It's time for you to put your abilities to the test. He has a piss fetish. You can just tell. You can just tell. My god. Now I have to use the stench from an old man's bandana to track a path he made with his piss. Sometimes I wonder what I wouldn't do for money. Christ, dude! Oh my god.
Hey!
Fucked up, dude. Okay. I genuinely feel bad for this woman. Same, honestly. Yeah, he's hungry. How do I eat? Okay. Okay, I need to buy more food for the long road ahead of me. And then we need to go to the mines. I love that I can now just piss wherever I want. Great new feature. Hey, I want some food, please. Can I get mushroom pasta? Why not? I have 22 quid. Thanks, bro. Oh, I need to pick it up. There we go. I would say that's a higher temperature, but that's too sus for me. What? Oh my god, how far away is... Bruh. Higher temperature equals hot. Okay. Oh, okay. I get it now. Alright, we're just gonna run. So the context is bad. I mean, is the context ever good? I'm a dog on a mission to go into the mines. I also don't know how far away the mines are, so I'm just running. I know a good context. What the fuck is gonna... 10 quid to open this gate? Thank you for constantly plugging the merch, Shiny, but Jesus Christ. Does the cat move faster than the dog? I feel like the cat might move faster than the... I don't know. I feel like maybe they're about the same, but we'll see. Hope there's not another toll I have to go through. Okay, that's right. We're gonna get to this fucking mine. We're gonna run there with our little cat legs.
Bark bark a w o o o o r r r r r r woof 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 gur bork bark bark woof w o f a w o o o o. Bark a w o o o o r r r r r r gur bork bark bark woof w o f bark bark a w o o o o r r r r r r woof woof woof.
I love the AWOOOOO. Where's Macy? Why are there just so many like hordes of bees? Thanks, Shiny, for your wise words in these trying times. I'm so sorry. You shouldn't be sorry. I did it for you. I thought you were gonna be a dog. I mean, I was dog, but now I am cat. If you want to do the text-to-speech but with cat noises, feel free. I can hear the exhaustion in your voice. That, I mean, that could also just be the fact that I am always just tired, so... Stop being such a bitch. You're not being a bitch, it's funny. Keep doing it. Willow? Can you just... Why are there just barrels at the side of the road, dude? We're nearly there. I say, in desperation. Make him explode. I'll make you explode, CC. Huh? How about that? Is that sheepies! Wait. Yeah? Sheepies? Yeah. What? Cows? Are they cows? Cows and sheepies? Being friends? Oh my god, look at oh! Look at him! I can make CC explode. Look, oh, that one's glitching. Why are you glitching? What's up? Look at him! You floating? Oh shit, Shiny actually had money for bombs. There was cows and sheepies. Oh, I see. Wait, what the fuck was that? Can I kill you? How do I attack again? B. What is this? I want it dead. Oh, it's a quail! Why won't you die? Okay, well, bye. I am deceased. You are deceased. You are deceased. Is that a rabbit? It's a rabbit. Death. Death. Murder. Come here. Fuck you. Come here. Yeah, boy. Rabbit fur. Is that a pigeon? Oh, that fucker's fast. Fuck. A turkey? No! He despawned. A fox. Yes, I am aware that you're free, Shiny. I'm busy or I would trap you. Okay, you're too fast. Bye. Okay, Shiny. Back in the cage you go. We're nearly there. We're nearly at the mines. Who is that? Oh, you're an army man. Well, I am a woman, so... Hello.
Hey!
Hello there. Hello there.
How are you doing? You're the photographer from the Big Apple, right? I'm David O'Reilly. I work over at the Neighborhood Watch section of Town Hall. I keep watch over the trails on weekdays. I know these mountains like the back of my hand, like. Hello there! Oh, and Michelle, who runs 1977. She's me big sister. Anyway, I'll be seeing you about. Alright. It's cold. Bruh. Why is this like a mountainous region? I gotta go to store booby. Have fun. Brr, it's colder than hell up here. There's a cold part of hell, right? Pretty sure there is.
Nope.
Man, if I run into a bear up here, I'm done for. Wait, what was that scary sounding noise?
Seriously?
No way. A bear? What are you supposed to do again when you run into a bear? Aren't you supposed to turn on a radio or use a bell or something? Playing dead won't save you from a bear, mind. In fact, you'd be bear biscuits before you could do anything at that range.
Damn you!
Who are you? Give me a break. I thought it was dead meat back there. Well, you almost were. That's why I'm warning you now. Past this point, it snows so hard you won't be able to see more in a few steps ahead of you. Damn you. The weather's pretty fierce, mind. If you go out there as you are now, you'll freeze to death within the hour.
Seriously?
I heard it was dangerous, but I didn't know it was like Arctic level dangerous. Folk have gotten stuck and died on mountains no more than 500 meters high, so don't be a chancer. Mother Nature's no joke. You tried to take her on and you're in trouble. Alright, I agree. Mountains are scary. You've just got to make the proper preparations before trying to scale any mountain and you'll be sound. So are you ready to tell me what you're doing trying to climb this bad boy? It's work related.
Oi!
What? I can't hear you. Do you think you're gonna really survive up here messing about like that? I need to go to the mine that's deep within these mountains. It's for my job, okay? I need to take some pictures of it, you know, of the equipment and its current state and whatever else. This is why I never did improv. Photos in the mine? Sounds interesting. I've been saying that someone ought to try and make a record of this town's history, mind. Phew, boy, am I lucky. This kid's such a trusting goody two-shoes. Tell you what, why don't I be your guide to the mine?
Yeah, baby!
Wow, yeah, baby! Wow, thanks, pal. You really saved my bacon here. But I can't let you in there just yet. Not until we've got you all set up. Huh? What do I need to do? Well, to get over to the next area, you'll need a drink that will really warm you from the inside out. Mix with that some power you can only find in rainy woods and we'd be good to go. A drink that can warm my body and a power that I can only find in rainy woods? You must be talking about the animal transformation stuff with that second one. So, what do you recommend in terms of drinks that can warm your body from the inside out? Well, my favorite's gotta be a good Irish coffee. A mug of whiskey spiked with a dash of coffee, in case you didn't know. And I should let you know that my big sis... Wow! That my big sis Michelle serves that very drink at her place.
Jeez.
Oh, so Michelle's your sister. No wonder you're so uninhibited. Okay, I'll go pay her a visit.
Dear player, It should go without saying, really, but say it I must.
Hmm.
Do not try this at home. If you're gonna go climbing mountains, know that downing an Irish coffee isn't gonna stop you from freezing your bits off.
He's so right. Lobster guy again. Alcohol time. Yeah, baby.
Lobster!
So, Irish coffee. How am I gonna get a hot cup of that all the way up here?
Lobster! Hey, what's your game?
Hey, come on, wait. I'm freaking posing here. I gotta say, I admire your stubbornness. Of course I'm stubborn. This is my pose. That means I gotta do it wherever I can, as many times as possible. Think about it. If the Three Musketeers always said the same line while charging, they'd just look like a bunch of bozos. Honestly, they all look like bozos to me. Holy moly! You just made an enemy of every last French person alive. You'd better apologize right now, yuppie. You're the one who's making all the gross generalizations here, pal. A French person who doesn't love the Three Musketeers is like a New Yorker who isn't in debt somehow. Anyways, what are you running away from this mountain for, huh?
Nope.
David, the resident safety rep here, stopped me. He said I need to be prepared to deal with a cold up there. You freaking chowderhead, and you call yourself an American? What do we always say? Rules are meant to be broken. Well, now that the cat's out of the bag, I might as well go and lock down that secret army lab in your stead.
Seriously?
Are you kidding me? You're actually gonna try and scale the mountain in what you're wearing? That's crazy. Even crazier than dumping a box of tea into a wharf while wearing a mohawk costume. Super high risk, super high return. That's how we do it up in Boston, baby. He's from Boston. Can you tell he's from Boston? He's from Boston? More like super high risk, no return. Can't get rich if you're dead. I love that I ran all the way here. And I have to run all the way back. Oh wait, I need to touch.
What's up?
Fuck. Oh my god, I don't have enough money to warp home. Okay, now we gotta run all the way back to town. Because I did not have enough money to warp me back home. Okay, so I'm gonna need to take out some money. Ow, I hit my finger. What happens if I kill the hedgehog? What do I get? Animal hide, lame. Okay, I need to pee. I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna go pee. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, boy. Okay. Let's get back to this fucking town. Because I forgot to bring fucking dead quid with me so I could teleport! Rage! Actually, I think I'll go to that camp and like register that camp because I think I can like teleport to them. And then I think I can just like warp home and use up like an hour of energy. Because I have enough energy, I think. God, I hope so. Bird. Oh, there's the camp. Oh, they have chickens. Chickens! Chickens! Kit time. Kit time.
Hey,
What? 85 quid to use the outdoor kitchen. Are you fucking serious? Whatever. Okay, we warp home. 5 hours worth of energy? Fuck it. Hi, Cece. Shouldn't you be sleeping? Shouldn't you be a sleepy, Cece? No, I think that means yes. This bitch needs to eat. This bitch hungry. Eat.
I'm stuffed.
I need to withdraw money. I withdraw like 200. Why the fuck not? Oh. We can harvest some potatoes. Fuck it. Her leaps are pathetic. Rat. Oops. Oh yeah, that's right. Hello. I would like to withdraw an extra 100, please, and thank you. Thanks. Easy peasy. Hi, Ria.
Pity.
Hello, I need some Irish.
Hey, hey. Too bad. You brat. What? Yeah.
Hello, child. Whoa, what the? Cold. What? Your drink's gonna go cold. Well, yeah, that's why I figured I'd just chug it down here. But Miss Hayward, if you just sit here drinking, then won't you get super drunk? She's got you there, she does. Fine, so what if it does? What the hell else am I supposed to do here? I found a thingy you can put it in that will stop your drink from ever going cold.
Nope.
Yeah, maybe in your dreams. There's no way some high-tech gadget like that would be out here in the sticks. Oh, but it is, and it's super high-tech. I found it inside the UFO that fell in the northern mountains. UFO, huh? Thanks for the tip, kid, but I think I'll be on my way now. I mean it! It was a real UFO! Okay, I believe you. I love UFOs too. I've seen both Independence Days and Section 9, but listen here, kid. I'm not talking about any movie. I can even prove that I'm not lying. I'll tell you where the high-tech thingy's been hidden. That way you can just go and see for yourself. Wait, but Clay and Charlotte can give you hints on where the high-tech thingy's hidden.
Bye.
So don't forget to talk to them. I'm sure you won't regret it.
Yeah.
Might as well just drink it now. She's a wee bit drunk now. Find Clay and Charlotte McCauley. Bruh. Do I even know who they are?
Hey.
Oops. I keep pressing the fucking hey button. I genuinely have no fucking clue who Clay and Charlotte McCauley are. Fuck. Oh, why is my Angie on? There we go. Okay, I am going to raid Titch because I am actually quite sleepy right now. My sleepy levels are getting real bad. So we're gonna go raid Titch. Because Titch is making emotes. And we love watching Titch make art in this house. Yeah, thank you all for stopping by and hanging out. Next stream... Probably next stream will just be like next Friday. I'll decide later. Because, you know, thank you for the stream. Oh, no, thank you for lurking and watching. Oh, I'm very sleepy just now though, so, you know. Oh, we're gonna chill with Titch. Yeah, I am very sleepy. I'll see if I can do another stream aside from next Friday. Keep you updated on, like, you know, Twitter and Discord. Yes. Yeah, thank you all for stopping by and hanging out. I just didn't, I wasn't sure what to play, so you know, some good life for the fucking hell of it, you know? Yeah. Thank you all so much. Bye bye.